we all set, Karen? I'm seeing something that says meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
Okay, then I think we are. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Springfield Community Preservation Committee. My name is Karen Lee and I'm the administrative consultant for the committee. The time now is 6:05 and it's April 27th, 2021. I'm going to just share the screen for a moment here.
Is somebody's phone ringing?
Mine. Someone's trying to.
Okay.
Yeah, so. This was all set up. Okay, I'm going to just read it. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the committee will continue to meet remotely until further notice. If you would like to make a public comment on tonight's presentation or any project, please send an email to cpc@springfieldcityhall.com or an email to City Hall, room 412, 36 Court Street, Springfield 01103. For more information, visit the Community Preservation page, a Facebook page, or on the city website. Tonight is the second of 3 meetings where we will hear from the 9 of the 28 applications or applicants who applied for CPA funding. Briefly, CPA funds are available to individuals or groups for recreational and open space, historic resources, or community housing. Funding for CPA projects is created through a 1.5 surcharge of real estate taxes and a statewide Community Preservation Act trust fund. In this cycle, there is approximately $2 million to grant to local Springfield neighborhoods. There are 9 projects scheduled for tonight, and each applicant will have 5 minutes to give an overview of the project, followed by a question and answer period from the committee. Once your presentation is complete, you are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting or exit the room. The last group of applicants for CPA funding are scheduled for next Tuesday, May 4th, and that meeting will also be recorded. As a reminder for those who are participating, please keep your screen on mute until you're asked to speak. And that's all I have for now. So Bob McCarroll is our chair and he will introduce the rest of the committee, and thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Karen. And while I'm talking, maybe you could check your voicemail to make sure that that wasn't a committee member or a presenter trying to figure out how to get into the meeting. Okay. So thank you for coming. I'm Bob McCarroll. I'm the chair of the Springfield Community Preservation Committee. The state law that governs CPCs across the Commonwealth requires that it have a minimum of 5 members, 1 coming from the Planning Board, and for us that's Gloria DiFilippo, 1 from the Historical Commission, and that is David Finn, 1 from the Conservation Commission, that's Juanita Martinez, 1 from the Housing Authority, and that's Willie Thomas, and the other is the Park Commission, and our member Terry Rodriguez has not yet arrived. The state law also allows up to 4 additional members, and Springfield has chosen in its ordinance to have 3 neighborhood representatives appointed by the president of the city council, and 1 member appointed by the Springfield Preservation Trust. I am that member, and the neighborhood members, 1 is Lamar Cook, who is present tonight, and we're still expecting the other 2 neighborhood representatives, who's Ralph Slate and Terry Mitchell. So as Karen had said, this is the 4th time we've been through this process. Sadly, the 2nd time we've been through it remotely because of the pandemic. We have a little more than $2 million that we can recommend to the City Council. We don't give money. We only make recommendations. Projects not recommended to us can't be funded by the City Council, but the City Council can still choose not to fund projects that we do recommend to them. So it is a process that we will be deliberating on, making recommendations, and probably in autumn, the City Council will be then voting on those recommendations. And assuming they agree with us, then we will be drawing up contracts. The 28 applications represent a request for about $5 million, and we have only $2 million that we can recommend. So clearly, demand continues to outstrip the funds available. So we're now in the meeting with the second third of applicants. You were invited to make a 5-minute presentation. Gloria DiFilippo will be the official timer. She will give you a 2-minute warning, a 1-minute warning, and then time out. And when you get time, please wrap up your comments in succinctly and not in a run-on compound sentence for which your high school English teacher would have given you a C. There will then be questions. It could be no questions. There could be 20 questions coming from the committee. And we ask you to confine your answers to the questions and not for those items you didn't get to talk about in your 5-minute presentation. So, in that being said, the first presentation tonight is the East Springfield Branch Library Outdoor Community Space.
Well, good evening. I'm Molly Fogarty. I'm the library director, and I want to take this opportunity to thank the Community Preservation Committee for considering our proposal. Back in 2018, I think the first year of funding, CPC funding, we did apply for a similar project at our new East Forest Park branch, which was funded. It was an outdoor reading garden. And since that building opened in December of 2019, of course, we've been closed by the pandemic since last March, but the outdoor space has been used very, very heavily. And so we were really excited to request funding for a similar kind of project at the East Springfield branch. The East Springfield branch is located at 21 Osborne Terrace. It's a very popular meeting space that benefits the neighborhood as a whole. It's one of the city's oldest branches. It's very, very busy, but very limited in size. It was built in 1932. It's about 3,500 square feet and sits on about a half an acre of property. It's located on a very densely populated residential street, abutting homes to the north and to the east, and a commercial parking lot to the south. The other side of the parking lot has frontage on Busy Page Boulevard with the CRRC manufacturing plant across the street. The area that we are looking to enhance as a popular outdoor space is the right-hand side of the library property, which abuts the commercial parking lot. There is no fence or plantings between the library property and the commercial parking lot. So it's a very unattractive space, and it doesn't provide any real landscaping, other very minimal landscaping, and no seating area, no programming area. So what we are looking for funding for is landscaping, upgraded electrical lighting, programmable space, benches, tables, and access to free Wi-Fi year-round. We feel that this definitely meets the CPA criteria for renovating small neighborhood green spaces to create programming and opportunities for public engagement of open spaces. And the vision for this project, it's something the library is very interested in funding for, but it's been inspired by grassroots outreach with partners such as the East Springfield Neighborhood Council and other residents seeking upgrades for their well-used neighborhood library. The budget and design elements were reviewed by the Springfield Parks Department, especially working with Laura Walsh, and we were able to come up with a plan that we think will if funded, we will then secure a landscape design and provide this really interesting, wonderful space for the community. The current space doesn't have any seating, has very limited plantings, and it is a area that I know the community would really benefit from. It would become a very busy public space, would allow us to do outdoor programming, not only library programming, but also the local schools could use it, and any neighbor would be welcome, any resident would be welcome to this great space. We envision lots and lots of programs, lots and lots of opportunities for neighborhood residents and families to gather. We plan to have lots of great outdoor programming, and the fact that people can access Wi-Fi year-round, 24/7 in this new safe and attractive space is a real benefit to the community as well. We'll make sure that there is upgraded lighting for safety, security cameras, a programming stage that we will make would sit on pavers, and lots of story activities like story walks. And the fact that we were funded at the East Forest Park neighborhood branch, and it's well-used space and used funding from the CPA that made that happen. We really look forward to funding for this project, and look forward to working with the community and with the park department on the final design and implementation of the project. So I keep seeing those signs go up. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Molly. So I open it to any committee members that may have questions. I have a couple, but I will wait for other members. So unfortunately, I can't see everyone at the same, well, maybe I can if I hit view. You have to pardon me. I am probably the most technology challenged member of the committee. So now I can see everybody. So if any committee members have a question, either raise your hand, or Lamar, or Willie. I see Ralph has a hand up. And Ralph Slate, one of our neighborhood representatives, has joined us. So Ralph?
Okay, I have a question, Molly. Would the existing library building need to be modified in any way to gain access to this garden?
No, the access would be from Osborne Terrace. So we wouldn't have a fence around it. It would be open and free access for any neighborhood resident or anyone who wanted to use it. So the building does not have to be modified.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Gloria, was that your hand up, Gloria? Or you
Yes.
just? Okay, Gloria.
Molly, I see that you have decorative fencing, $8,500. Where's the fencing going to go?
The fencing would go at the east, my bearings, no, it's east, the east part of the building. So right now there's chain link fencing there, and it's very, very unattractive. And we feel that replacing that with nice decorative fencing would really enhance the experience for any resident wanting to use a space.
And is there going to be fencing to separate you from the business?
What we were hoping to do is to use plantings as a barrier and a privacy.
Okay.
So that would enhance the landscaping and also provide that privacy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
To piggyback on Gloria's question, there are the photographs of the side yard, but there's nothing in there as a schematic that gives us any inkling as to where things are going to be. And I know that part of it's a planning process that you will do if you get the money from the city council. But I think it would be helpful, at least for me, if you could get us something like, is this space going to extend all the way to Osborne Terrace, or is it going to stop at the front facade, in the sense the facade line of the library?
Okay.
Where's the fencing going? Where's the shrubbery going? Are you putting, that kind of stuff that we at least have an idea of the amount of area that this space is taking up? When we got the East Forest Park Library, of course, that was a brand new thing where we got plans that we could actually look at. So if you could get that to us, you'll get it to Karen Lee and she'll forward it to us. It doesn't have to be architect drawn. It doesn't have to be fancy schmancy. But it would be helpful for us to get an idea of how much land you're thinking of having part of this area and where you're putting fencing, where you're putting shrubbing, maybe where you're thinking of benches, whatever you have concrete ideas. We understand it may change, but okay.
Oh, that would be,
sound
yeah,
right?
absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, we will definitely. And would you like, is there a deadline for that? Obviously there's a deadline, but what is the-
I guess what I would say is to get it to us by before the Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, definitely. We will do that.
Yeah. I mean, once again, we will start, just so as timetable for everyone, we will finish meeting with the other applicants in early May. When we meet in June is when we start deliberating.
Okay.
So we really need that before we start deliberating. The sooner you can get it, I mean, don't wait until then if you have it sooner.
Okay.
But I don't want to rush you either on it.
Sure. So you're not looking at a professional landscape plan, but more of a sort of a schematic that gives you an idea of where everything will be
A
going.
librarian's dream.
Okay. All right, we will do this. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
So David Finn has his hand up. David.
Molly, under landscaping, you have landscape design, $10,000. Can you define how's that categorized? Is that simply for a plan or?
That would be for a plan, correct. That was the budget estimate that we received for coming up with a plan. So that's maybe we can find someone that can do it for less, but that was the estimate that we got. And that's why we didn't proceed with the landscape design, because we don't have the funding.
Understood. And who actually, and Molly, who is responsible for providing you the just a sort of general budget?
The budget was based on other projects that we've done in the library, including the East Forest Park branch. We have a reading garden at a reading garden and a discovery garden at Mason Square Branch Library, and we have a reading garden at the Forest Park branch as well. So we reviewed budgets for those projects and used those numbers, and also had Laura Walsh, who was extremely helpful, review those numbers to make sure that they were still viable amounts, and that's where they came from.
And if I could make a comment on the landscape architect fee, that also includes, it would take your conceptual plan, Molly, that you guys are working on now, and it would develop that into construction documents so you can actually renovate your space. So it's not just for landscaping, it's a whole site plan for the project.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Thank you, Molly.
Thank you, Laura.
I see Lamar's hand up. Lamar?
Thank you. My question was, what was the anticipated funding amount from the Lowe's Foundation? I didn't see it on the budget.
Well, we were hoping to use that as part of the match. So we have about $85,000 that we're requesting $85,000 from CPA, and then looking at other sources of funding, Mass Cultural Council, using our Mass Board of Library Commissioners state aid grant, some funding from the library budget. So we are waiting to see what the parameters are for the Lowe's Foundation. We haven't approached them yet. So that would be part of the match.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I guess the other issue that I need to raise, Molly, is, when we do CPA and it goes to recreation, whether it's active recreation or passive recreation, it's usually on parkland that can't be changed without the state legislature's approval. And so just as we had concerns with the East Forest Park one, we'll have the concern here that one, we wouldn't want a future library director coming in and saying, we don't want any people here except people who are participating in library programs. When the library's not open, this space is closed. Or worse yet, someone who says, a future director that says, I need parking more than I need a garden, a reading garden. So we need to, assuming we were to recommend this, we need either agreement with the library commission and the park commission, or with us that says this space is permanent, passive recreational space, and is open to the public. I don't know if you want to say dawn to dusk, but obviously we can't just have it open during library hours,
Right.
because that would then make it a library project that's not accessible to the rest of the public at any other time. So I assume we can figure out how to do that if we recommend it.
Sure. For example, all of our existing gardens are open. They are open 24/7. We don't know if anyone uses them in the middle of the night. We haven't had any security issues at any of them. It's the public library. And again, I know I can't speak for directors 30, 40 years from now, but it is our philosophy, open and free access, not only to information, but to space. And I know in the East Forest Park branch contract, I know you were concerned that we don't put up a fence and lock off the space. And I think that was actually written into the contract. And that the space we have in East Forest Park, we have a lease with the school department for 100 years. So it's good for 100 years. And I think we could do something like that, working with the city law department, saying that this space would remain free, public, open community space. In perpetuity, or I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm sure there are ways to work out an agreement.
Okay.
And the library commission would support that too. So.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that you're negotiable and flexible on this, because that's, good.
I mean, librarians,
all right, so,
that's what we're all about, open and free access, so.
All right, so Lamar, your hand is up, or did you not take it down from the last time?
I'm sorry, I'll lower my hand. I apologize.
Oh, that's all right. All right, so I'm not seeing any indication. And Willie, I don't think you have a hand that you can put up or down. So, Willie, do you have any questions on this? Not hearing
No, I
you,
have
Willie.
no questions.
Oh, okay. Very good. Well, thank you so much, Molly.
Well, thank
and
you.
Jean, and you're certainly welcome to stay, but you're also welcome to leave, whichever you want to do. So
right. Well,
the next project will continue in East Springfield, and it's the Marshall Roy splash pad and spray structure. So is that Kathy Brown? Are you presenting it, Kathy, or is the
Yes,
Parks
I am.
Department?
I
Okay.
am, and Laura's going to back me up.
Okay.
Thank you very much. East Springfield Neighborhood Council is really privileged to be in front of you tonight to, again, share with you our project for a splash pad spray structure for the Marshall Roy Field. This proposal will include the design, the site preparation, and installation of a quality splash pad spray structure, and also 6 benches that will really enhance the community's ability to use and utilize the park. These benches will be around the spray structure, so moms and dads and significant parents, people can watch on while their children play. This really will strengthen the park's ability to service the children. Currently, there is a splash pad there that is far beyond its normal life expectancy. It really needs to be totally reworked, and this community preservation funding would satisfy that goal of the neighborhood council. The park goers really need an opportunity during the summer to cool themselves down, especially with the climate being as it is and the warm summers. And even last summer with COVID, the splash pad was still operational, and we thank the park for being able to provide that for the people. It's a very popular park. If you've been by it, particularly on evenings or weekends, we have many sporting teams that play there. Many parents and families picnic there. And also there's a lovely swing set and play area for the kids. So it really this will really continue to enhance their outdoor experience. We know that the park department has helped us through this process again, and we appreciate their help, and we know that they have the capacity to put it all together. We're looking at a project that's $209,300, which would give us state-of-the-art project for years and years and years to come. We're expecting, if we get approved, that the timeline would be the fall of 2021 and spring of 2022 for the planning and the design. And then the contractors would do what they need to do and then really start the construction in September of 2022, so that we won't impact the students' ability to utilize the dilapidated but still somewhat serviceable spray structure that is there. Thank you very, very much. I'd be happy to provide any additional comments that the committee requires.
Thank you, Kathy. So do any committee members have a question? Juanita has a question.
Yeah, I saw that you have benches.
Yes.
Which are great around there. Would you consider adding like picnic tables there? Because that could be part of the day, or are there picnic areas nearby? Picnic tables.
Right, a very good point. We were fortunate through some target improvement grants, through the community development block grant, to get 3 picnic tables that are already installed right in that area, and then we're getting 3 more. So this CPA is really adding to some of the other enhancements we've been able to pull together for that park.
Okay.
So yes, but picnic tables are pretty critical. Thank you.
Gloria has a question.
Yes. I guess this question is really for Laura. I see that you have design and engineering services down. I understand the need for design and engineering, so don't misinterpret what I'm going to say. But every project has design and engineering, Is there some way to group it to get some type of a discount? I don't know how, other than to say, is there some way to group it to get a discount?
Okay.
So that the monies are able to be parceled out more to other.
So I understand where you're coming from, Gloria. Every construction project needs design and construction plans. You have to make sure everything's engineered correctly and things like that. In the construction world, the rule of thumb is to carry 10% of your project budget to go towards design and construction. So that's always why there's a line item there. If a project had similar, if you were doing like 6 playgrounds all together and you wanted to head in that direction, you may be able to hire someone to do all 6 of those at the same time, which I could see where you might have some cost savings, but each project is different in what you're looking for. And we are, as we're the city, we have to follow procurement laws. So all of these projects have to be bid individually. That's why there's always a separate line item for design and construction.
All right, thank you for indulging me.
You're welcome. I wish there was an easier answer and that we could just get a very nice discount for all design, but it does have to be individual.
Okay.
Okay. Lamar, I see Lamar's hand up, and then we'll go to David, because I think David's hand's up. But first, Lamar.
I'm just wondering if we have a more detailed breakdown of $180,000 for the tree protection, site preparation, structure, and installation.
Yes, we can work with our, that number is coming from previous splash pad projects that have been done around the city. And and this is not an excuse, but our playground provider and equipment provider was very backed up this spring due to like COVID demands and things like that. And they were working on an updated budget for us. So we should hopefully have that for you by the end of May.
Good. And now that, I have to say, now that I'm looking at my calendar, and I'm glad that Molly and Jean are still here, we meet actually, the first Tuesday in June is June 1st. And therefore, I would like any information you're getting to us to be gotten to us by the 21st of May, so Karen can forward it to the committee members so that they have a whole week to cogitate on it, because when they come in on June 1st, they come in with, so we start the deliberations, and I don't want them having to start thinking about data on the weekend before, over Labor Day weekend. So if Park and Library can have us their stuff by no later than the 21st of May, that would be great. Thank you, Lamar. David, you had a question?
I do. And under the proposal description, you talk about the large cracks and then about the spray structure not being fully operational. So 2 questions, and it may or may not be possible, but have you looked at the cost of actually repairing this? Is that a possibility? And can you just elaborate on the spray structure and what is not fully operational? Or
can I assist with that, Kathy?
Yes, thank you, Pat.
David, what we found is going with a concrete base is better served and has a longer duration than asphalt. When we started this process 25 years ago, asphalt was the choice paving material, but we've learned the hard way that concrete, even though it's more expensive, is more durable. And we have gone through the city taking those from the asphalt over to concrete. And then just with any elements that aren't properly working, it would be just due to age, and we have to get at the base. We have to remove the base to make those repairs. So it'll be a good timing to make those upgrades when we remove the asphalt and put the concrete in for the new splash pad.
okay, thank you, Pat.
Okay, and just to confirm, the spray structure was used this past year, so it's not like it's totally not functional, it's just not functioning well?
Right, not all the elements are operational, and what we do is we'll crack fill, and then we'll skim coat paint with our sheriff department crews to keep it operational for another season or 2.
And just, Pat, maybe I missed it with your explanation with David. What's not operational? Is it that the sprays have different things that they do and differing strengths, and some of those sprays are not working?
Right, there's different ground jets, above ground jets, and there probably could be a break in one of the lines, and that's why it's no longer operating.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions from committee members? And obviously, Willie, if you've got anything, chime in now.
No questions.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kathy.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the time.
So the next presentation is on the Blunt Park tennis courts. Andrew, are you presenting that, or is the park department presenting that?
I think the park department's going to present that one tonight.
Okay.
Bob.
Very good. Take it away.
Laura, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Pat. So we have been requested, we have been by neighborhood residents, Bay Area neighborhood residents over the last year or so to take a look at the Blunt Park tennis courts, which are in need of renovation due to the lifespan of a tennis court and what needs to happen there. So what this project would do would be a complete renovation of these 6 tennis courts at Blunt Park. It would include new pavement, new tennis equipment, new fencing, and just an overall upgrade to the area to increase this recreational element for folks. It is a well-used amenity within the park system, but we want to make sure that we're able to continue to provide that recreational resource for the neighborhood before it becomes deteriorated to the point that you can't use it. So like I said, there's 6 courts there, and this would include a total renovation of all 6 courts. It's a pretty straightforward project. It does need some design and plans put to it just to make sure that we have the proper drainage and everything that you need for a court. When currently when it rains at Blunt Park, the tennis courts here, it does take a day or two for everything to dry out so that you can play on the court. So we want to address those issues, as well as we have been asked to take a look at the practice board that is there. So making sure that that is usable, and that that would be included in the project as well. So pretty straightforward, just a nice upgrade and renovation to the Blunt Park tennis courts. So
I would
Pat,
like,
have you missed
Andrew,
anything?
you want to say a few words on behalf of the Blood Park Tennis Club?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for allowing me to just say a couple of words in reference to the Blunt Park tennis courts. I don't know if a lot of people probably don't know the history of the Blunt Park tennis courts, but we had some very historical pioneers who have come through that play tennis. We had Art Carrington, who is currently up in Amherst now. We had the famous Bob James and Vic Frisbee. All of those individuals, they started out on the tennis courts there at Blunt Park. I've been playing at Blunt Park for over, say, 30 years. I can remember when we put the new renovated courts that are now old in, and we was just so delighted to have those courts. And he indicated recently that that the courts are getting ready to kind of deteriorate. So we would like to perhaps make sure that we keep those courts in excellent condition and continue the usage of the courts. The tennis courts on this side of town are the most utilized courts in the city. And we also have young people who train every summer, June, July, August. Thanks very much to the park department for allowing us to have the USTA Tennis Junior for children every Saturday, Friday and Saturday and Sunday at Blunt Park. So we really appreciate that. But the tennis courts are very much utilized. Also, they have events that are associated with the tennis courts. They have tennis tournaments. And also every holiday, they have a cookout with the tennis and bring a lot of community people out. They socialize. There's one thing we would like to add to see if there is a possibility of having some tables that are surrounded around the court, in addition to maybe shaving back some of the trees at Forest Park, at Blunt Park, because now the shade is kind of limiting the sunlight coming through when we're on the court, and it's hard to kind of see the ball as it comes through. But again, thank you for this opportunity, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Well, so let me ask either Andrew or the park department, in the current budget proposal, is there money for those two things that Andrew just mentioned, for places for people to sit and for tree trimming, or is this something that will be handled separately, or is this already in the budget?
No,
because I don't see that necessarily in here.
Yep. So those would fall under the site amenities for a budget like this. And when you get into the design process with the construction documents laying it out, that is when you can identify where the picnic tables would go and what else is needed there. But they can be included in the line item budget. Yeah,
but as I'm looking at site amenity budget, it says tennis equipment, nets, posts, practice wall, and so so you're saying that's where the money for the tree trimming and for the benches, tables would come out of?
Some of the tree trimming would come out of a construction line item for demo and site prep, and then the tables can be lumped in with the site amenities. And again, we can get an updated budget to you, Bob, that shows all of those. Yeah, that's preferred.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be good. And dumb question. Besides nets and posts, what are other tennis equipment other than rackets and balls?
Well, that's your, contingency as well. You got to make sure that we have everything. It could also include bleachers, things like that, for the sport of tennis. So
that's great.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see. Do any committee members have questions?
Yes,
Not
Bob.
seeing. Oh, there's Gloria. Okay, Gloria.
I couldn't go by without having a question.
That's good.
What is a practice wall? Explain the purpose. I know what the purpose is, but how needed is a practice wall?
It's very much needed because there are a number of times when the courts are really filled and people would like to just play one-on-one with themselves. So basically they'll go back and hit on the wall. And it also serves as a tool for people who are learning the game of tennis. They can also hit and give instructions on the wall. We have a great wall that's located right now at the Blunt Park, but it's probably positioned in the wrong place. So hopefully with the renovations, we can establish a great place for the wall. But it's a great teaching tool.
Definitely in use when we went out to check the site, and some of the residents had commented there may be like a dead spot or two on that wall, Andrew, and had asked for us to look at that so that they can use it more efficiently.
There are a number of dead spots.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Any other questions? David, did you have your hand up? Yes.
I do. Just a quick question. When is the last time a project of this magnitude at the courts took place?
Specifically at Blunt Park?
Yes.
I believe that these courts have been, and Pat can correct me, but I think they're about 25 to 30 years old.
That would be correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have a question. In the application are photographs of a gentleman who's pointing at deficiencies. And on one, I'm trying to look at my page, I think on page 16 of the application, he's pointing at weeds which are in a seam, not a crack. I mean, to me, this is something that the seam was there when the courts were built. It's not one of the many cracks that's occurred. And on page 13, he's pointing, and I think he's pointing to the fact that the net's not proper, is not hooked up at all.
Yeah,
and if that's the case, these are maintenance issues, not construction issues. So my question is, if indeed he's pointing to weeds that are in seams, not cracks, and nets that aren't up, what's the park department going to do to make sure that this court is maintained if we recommend rebuilding it?
So, Bob, that letter that was included, that was also included in your packet to show that the neighborhood has requested these things. Those weeds have been removed from the breaks in the pavement there, and that was to allow for the courts to shift. At like 20 years ago when it was put in, that was the design of what they thought tennis courts should be, how they should be designed. That is no longer a feature in tennis courts at this time. Like things are, engineering has advanced a little bit, and you can pour concrete and things in different ways. So those cracks wouldn't, excuse me, not the cracks, the grooves would not be there in the updated design.
Okay. All right. And is the other photograph where he's pointing, and it looks like I can't tell if he's pointing at the fact that the net is not up, or is he pointing at a crack?
Net posts, Bob, are just failing at this location due to age. Yeah.
All right. Very good.
And those were
Ralph,
expansion joints, and the expansion joints are failing. That's why you're getting the weed growth and everything through them.
All right. So if these are rebuilt, there will not be a weed problem per se, because there won't be expansion joints any longer. All right. Correct. Ralph has a question.
Yes. Do you bid out the fencing on a project like this separately, or is that included with the whole design? It just, I mean, I'm not obviously a construction engineer, but like $75,000 for fencing seems a little high.
Yeah, fencing is actually more expensive than you think, especially in this past year. Everything has gone up. So we have taken that into consideration. There's a few ways you can bid a project like this. The city does have an on-call fencing contractor that we can receive quotes from, and or it can be part of the whoever is renovating the pavement, because we'll have to go out to bid for that portion of the project. The fencing can be on them to provide and install, but we do have a fence contract that gives us the best pricing available. So, again, some of the budget line items may fluctuate once you get into design development and you get into actual construction costs. But based on experience and what we've done in the past, the budget is sufficient to include all of these items.
All right. Juanita, did you have a question? Yes?
Yeah, I'm looking on page 13 and I don't know what the rest of the fence looks like, but that fence looks pretty good.
Yeah, and if it can be reused in certain parts, we can do that. You can look at that. It does need to be painted in some areas, but in order to renovate the full courts, we do need to remove the fence and the post in order to get in there and take out the old pavement and put in the new tennis court surface.
Okay. Any
Due
other
to the
questions?
amount of drainage and everything, Juanita, we're thinking that it probably won't be able to be salvaged. And we're leveraging this project with a CDBG funds as well.
All right. Unless there are other questions, I guess my only comment, oh, Gloria has a question.
The fencing that you take down, what happens to it?
Well, if it can be reused anywhere, if we need to repatch something else or things like that, we do that.
So you do save what you can instead of just, you know, trying to be eco-friendly.
Yes.
Here, you do reuse the fence. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
If it's savable, if it's reusable.
Yep. Okay. Any questions? Willie, any questions from you?
No, yeah, just a quick question. I like the idea that you're considering to renovate the tennis court at Blunt Park. And I feel that's an opportunity if we could somehow get some type of support from the housing authority to move this project forward as the committee is willing to make the funds for it. I know we're always looking for projects that are youth, and we have a lot of them at Reed Village and also at Robinson Gardens that could benefit from this type of off-development activity. So I would encourage that we get a letter of support. If you wish to get a letter from Andrew from the Housing Authority, let us know and we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, additionally too, Willie, you might be able to send some of the children for tennis lessons, free tennis lessons on the weekend as well.
Excellent. So contact us in regards to a letter of support.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So two things. One, if you have additional information to get us, May 21st is the deadline. The other thing, after what Andrew said, I would love to see if sort of site amenities might include a plaque that talks about important people in tennis who played at Blunt Park. You know, we always want, Springfield doesn't boast about its success stories enough. So I would suggest that we think about whether it's something that's mounted on the chain link fence or whether there's a little boulder we put it on or something that promotes the fact that we have people who are known folks in the tennis world who played here. All right, Andrew? So
phenomenal. Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Very good. So unless someone else has a question, we will then proceed to the next presentation. Thank you so much. So the next one is the Samuel Bolden Bathhouse. Who's presenting for that?
I'm going to present for that, Bob.
Okay.
Chrissy Brooks here on behalf of Parks and Recreation.
Mm-hmm. Welcome, Chris.
Appreciate you letting me present a second time. So in collaboration with Barbara Gresham, who is here, Old Hill Neighborhood Council, and Adrian Osborne of the Upper Hill Residents Council, we would like to submit the Samuel A. Bolden Bathhouse concession stand for funding. And the plan is really to create an accessible bathhouse that sits inside the plans of Samuel Bolden Park. The vision was created by Capital Asset Construction, and we are looking at inserting the bathhouse into their design, really. And so the goal is to provide a sort of a destination to a newly renovated park that, if you are a family, multiple children, single mother, someone who is actually going to be staying there for longer, that you don't have to go somewhere off site to use the bathroom or get something to eat or drink. It's a slightly larger than their proposed bathhouse, but we're using a design which we've used before at Quinfield or Pignelli Field, and it's a 22 by 36 bathhouse that includes a men's and women's restroom, a concession window, and then also a I believe it. Wait, sorry. Yes, and a concession stand. And we are asking for the full amount of $250, and we're also looking toward CDBG money later on this year in order to help with the funding. The project itself is roughly it's going to be, $309,000. So we are going to need CDBG money in order to continue the project. And I don't think I left anything out, so I will take any questions.
Okay. Well, thank you. So let me ask a question in terms of, this is a park department question. How many city parks have restroom concession stands besides, I know there's one in Forest Park. So leaving that one aside, how often do we have restrooms or concession stands in city parks?
Blunt Park has one, Bob, and what we would do is we would work with the neighborhood councils and their area youth teams to operate these concessions, and that's how we've operated the Blunt Park concession for a number of years. And that way the monies that are raised from the concession helps to support their teams for their neighborhood. And that's the intent of the neighborhood with this project, is to get the neighborhood involved and to have the concession available for this new park. The park is being rebuilt here to replace the DeBerry Field, which the new DeBerry Homer Street School is going to be built at the former DeBerry Park.
So is the concession stand only open when there is a, let's call it a league game going on in the field?
That would be correct.
We'll have somebody.
Their coaches would have access to the restrooms during practices, and then the concession stand is usually open when there are games scheduled.
And so the restrooms are, so if someone goes there at 10 o'clock with their kid, the restrooms are not available. Is that correct? They're only available when there's an organized event.
Right. At this time, they're either the coaches would have a key for access to a restroom, or when there's a organized game.
Okay. Thank you. And Juanita has a question.
Yeah, Bob, this is for you. Is this CPA covered? I thought concession stands, buildings. I'm confused. I didn't think this was covered by CPA money.
So here's the answer. I did after the last meeting, when there were some questions, I called the coalition and spoke with Stuart regarding a couple of issues, and I might as well take time now to report on them. He said, well, in general, because we were asked for pay for parking lot improvements, he said, well, parking lot improvements, if they are accessory to the recreational improvement, are probably eligible. Whether we want to pay for them is our business, but they're eligible. If he said it was just parking lots, no, but parking lots adjacent to tennis courts, yes. He said clearly the Department of Revenue has ruled that restrooms are in recreation areas because their accessory is eligible. We said it's up to us whether we want to decide we're going to recommend it or not, but he thought it was eligible. And he also said very modest bleachers, not like in the stadium, but modest bleachers that are adjacent to a play field were eligible, but it was up to us whether we wanted to fund it. So the answer is that this seems as if it's CPA eligible. The question that I would have, though, is on the design of, when I look at the design of this facility, about a third of it is the handicapped accessible bathrooms, about a third of it is the concession stand, and there's the third of it, or maybe even half of it, that's something that is a blank space that goes with announcer's window. And so Pat or Laura or Chris, what is that interim space that we're being asked to pay for?
Yeah, that's where their refrigeration would be for their ice cream, their hot dogs, you know, just the equipment to operate a concession.
That's the back room space for the concession stand?
Or it's the storage for, you know, the restroom supplies and so forth.
Well, and what does announcer's window that's written on the plan?
It's basically that opens up into the field so someone could sit in there and announce the different, you know, aspects of the game that's happening if the team decided to do that.
Okay.
Following Gloria's lead, we took an existing plan, so hopefully we're saving $80,000 by using an existing plan. Because this normally would be like a $500,000 project. So we're, again, following, with everything that we do, we try to save money wherever possible. And then if I could, I don't know if Barbara or Adrian, they're on the call, if Chris hadn't used the full 5 minutes, if they could say a few things from their respective neighborhood councils, if that's allowable, Bob.
Yeah, I'm flexible. We always want, if you've got less than 5 minutes. So I don't know whether Barbara or Adrian want to say a few words.
Yes, I'm having problems with.
Yeah, I think it's because you have.
Was that you, Barbara? Did you have all that static?
Yeah, she has her cell phone
Lord.
on, I think, also as well. So it's. I'm not sure if that's the sound that we're hearing.
Now we can't hear you. You've muted yourself, Barbara.
But I don't know.
Yeah, it's the audio from what you're playing back on your computer mixed with the audio of your phone. Right? No?
So mute your computer or mute your phone.
Right, yeah. No?
Okay.
Now you're totally muted, Barbara.
Sorry, I thought you had a phone because there's another person on here that says Barbara Gresham on it. So I thought maybe that.
Oh, well, I don't know. So I don't know. Adrian, do you want to?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Bob?
Yes, I can hear someone.
That's Adrian.
Oh, okay, because it says you're muted, but I can hear you.
Oh, well, maybe I'm a miracle worker or something. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. So, Adrian, what do you want to say to us briefly?
Well, briefly, I just want to say this is really an essential part of this park. You know, the neighborhood residents really, when we were talking with Pat and his team early on in the planning stages, and this is something that the neighbors and the residents and the committee members were talking about in terms of the need to have a bathroom in this area, because going to a porta potty is not even essential. You know, it's not clean enough, and it makes sense to have a bathhouse or a restroom area like this, because it's going to provide the family atmosphere that we need, where people will feel comfortable about going to the bathroom, and how essential is that? That is very important. So if we can just really look at the basics of having this project approved or considered, we really appreciate it, because this is exactly what the neighbors were talking about when we were in the planning stages of this project.
Thank you.
welcome.
I see
Since
Willie has
Barbara
his
could
hand
speak,
up. Pardon?
Bob, since Barbara can't speak, I just wanted you to know that Barbara's committee, her neighborhood council's been an advocate for this project. It was disappointing that the bathroom facility didn't fit in phase 1 of the project. And they came to us wanting to apply to CPA, and we've assisted both neighborhood councils with this grant application. So Barbara, it's been a pleasure to work with you and Adrian on this.
Yeah, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I see Willie's hand up, and then I'll take Lamar. I see his hand up. So Willie, you're on bat.
No questions. I have no questions.
Oh, okay. Lamar?
Yes, what is the proposed maintenance schedule for the restrooms?
So we don't really have a maintenance schedule right now. The goal would be to make sure that someone is in charge of maintenance, and we would have that taken care of at Parks. So that's.
So on that, Ralph, we would have an agreement with the either the neighborhood council or the youth team that would operate the food concession to maintain. So currently at Blunt Park, we have an agreement with the Stone Soul Committee to operate that food concession at Blunt Park.
Any other questions from committee members? Gloria?
I'm sorry, Stephen Jablonski, he had his hand raised.
Well, Stephen's, I think, here for the museums, isn't he?
Oh, maybe that was an error. I apologize.
Yeah, I have not raised my hand.
Okay. What is the difference between a bathhouse here, bathrooms here, and no bathrooms at Magazine Park?
I don't know how to answer that, Gloria.
Sure.
I'm on a roll today, but be prepared.
I think Magazine is a little different. This is going to be more of a regional type field, if I might suggest that, just due to the size and so forth, where I consider Magazine more of a neighborhood park. And not to take away from their request for a restroom facility at Magazine, but I would agree with the neighborhood request that the Sam Bolden Park should have some type of a restroom facility, just due to the type of programming that's planned for this park.
And is there any programming out at Magazine Park?
There are, but I think Magazine is more of a neighborhood type park, type of more neighborhood.
Well, Pat, can
So
you speak to us on
we all
speak
grew
to
up
us
in the city,
regarding
and
the
not every park
programming
can
that's
have a
occurring?
bathroom, I guess.
Well, Pat, speak to us regarding the kind of program that's going to occur at Bolden that's not occurring at other municipal parks.
I think what will happen at Bolden, similar to what was basically, we're taking the DeBerry field and moving it here. We had more out-of-town teams coming to use that complex, playing Springfield teams. Whereas a Magazine Park right now, that's used, in my opinion, historically by Springfield-based teams for practices and so forth. So I think that's basically the difference between those two locations. You're going to be bringing more teams from outside the area, hopefully, to use this park, this new park.
And are they charged?
We do a scheduling fee. We can't charge, patron users per the laws of the Commonwealth, but we do have a scheduling fee with adult teams, not for youth teams.
You do also, because you have a large field, with field hockey, with soccer, basketball is going to have a full-length basketball court. I think the amenities and the things that are going to be offered here are so diverse that you're going to have a lot of people that want to use the space.
Well, but
Okay,
yes,
thank
but
you.
if I understand it correctly, the bathrooms are only available when there are the organized teams on the large playfield. Is that correct? And if that indeed is the case, during the season, you know, we're New England, so half the year we don't do anything outside really. How much of the field's going to get used, and therefore the bathrooms are going to be called on to be unlocked?
Yeah, your bathrooms, Bob, are open from basically April 15th through November 15th.
But only when there are people on the playing an organized team. Will the bathrooms be open at 10 o'clock on a Friday morning?
Probably not, unless there was a rental.
Yeah.
Why?
So I guess
I guess they're there. The bathrooms are there for the event. It's not there for just the public to drive by and say, "Oh, I want to use this bathroom." It's meant for the park patrons when you have an event.
So I guess what I'm trying to get a handle on, Pat, is how many organized events will there be in a season?
You would probably have easily 150 to 200 games scheduled, you know, potentially at this park during the season.
Okay. And I guess I have one other question. I noticed, although there's no price next to it, I'm assuming that it's part of the cost. It talks about a grinder pump. I thought a grinder pump was when you were below grade. Is there going to be a grinder pump at this
That's to get
bathroom
the
facility?
sewage out to the street.
It's not gravity flow.
There's a good chance, again, that would have come from capital asset, probably because of the different heights of the existing sewer system.
Yep.
This would require a grinder pump. All the restrooms, like say in Forest Park, are on a grinder pump system.
So no electricity, no bathroom.
That is true.
Willie, I see your hand up. Did you have a question, or did you just not take it down? Well, I'm not hearing from him. So any other questions? Seeing no other committee members indicating they have questions, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
The next presentation is with the YWCA of Western Massachusetts Emergency Shelter Playground Renovation.
Hello, everyone. I'm super grateful to be here today. My name is Gita Ocasio, and I'm here to represent the proposal for the YWCA of Western Massachusetts. My colleague Amber Connors and our Chief Executive Elizabeth Deanan is here joining me as well. I will be speaking on behalf of all the children that live in our shelter. I worked in the domestic violence shelter as the assistant program director and now as the interim director. The YWCA's domestic violence shelters are the largest domestic violence shelter in Western Massachusetts. It is a 58-bed emergency shelter for victims of domestic violence and their children. And we also have a 24-hour hotline for victims of domestic violence. Keep in mind that this is a highly secure building for the safety of our families. The YWCA would really like to build a new playground in the YWCA's emergency domestic violence shelter. After 15 years of use, the current play space has become unsafe and inaccessible. Nearby tree roots are broken through the protective rubber mats, which spans the entire playground. The protective mat is now an uneven trip hazardous, causing staff, parents, and children to fall and sustain minor injuries. Additionally, the 15-year-old equipment is really worn out, making it unsafe and unusable. The current quote that it was provided to all of you from my loan and MacBroom Inc. includes removing existing play equipment, trees, and hazardous items in the play area. The quote also includes replacing playground equipment, safety, surfacing, replacement, shades, basement grates, and any replacing landscaping. So I just, as working with directly in the shelter, I would really like to point out some key points for all of you to keep in mind while making your decision. One of the hardest things to do in the shelter is to have a child ask you why they can't play on the playground. Time after time, I have to be the bearer of bad news and explain to them how it is not safe and they cannot play in the playground. The children start to cry. I remember one child told me once that he really looks forward to playing in the playground because it helps him keep away bad thoughts and thinking about when his mommy is crying in the bedroom. This particular child endured a lot of trauma. His background story was that his dad put a gun to his head and threatened him and his mom. So he was severely brought into shelter with a lot of trauma. So this is one of many heartbreaking stories that we hear time to time in shelter. The reason why the agency feels so strongly about having a playground is crucial because it has emotional, mental, and physical benefits for the children living in our shelter. The playground will increase self-esteem, improve collaboration skills, enhance critical thinking skills, and eventually strengthen their immune system. From a psychological perspective, which is my field of study, play is an important part of a child's early development, as we all know. Playing helps young children's brains to develop and for their language and communication skills to mature. Play is also critical for kids to develop emotional, social, and creative thinking skills that they need. A playground at the shelter would be super beneficial for the children. It will then experience it will help them experience a range of emotions that are normal, not available to them in a normal situation. Research shows that role playing helps kids understand real life relationships. They begin to learn about roles and cultural rules that determine them. They develop relationships and then test them perhaps as often as a new trip to the playground. They learn self-control, as mentioned above. They find about collaboration and negotiation. It is definitely crucial for them, for our children. A playground at the shelter, we feel, is super beneficial also because it would provide a huge experience for them. And it helps bond the mom, the parent, with the child in general. I understand that we're all feeling profound stress during the corona's outbreak, but our parents in our domestic violence shelter feel that stress even more in a particular way because they're stuck in a shelter in close quarters with their children. Parents have the difficult task of managing their own anxiety and their healing process while trying to stay calm for their children. Most parents in our shelter say that it's extremely challenging for them to be cooped up in a room. Please also take into consideration that yes, while the parents have the freedom to go outside and take their children to the park, how can they feel safe if they have the constant fear that the perpetrator is somewhere out there waiting to find them? Some parents have told me,
Time's up, sorry.
No problem, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I guess, first of all, it's not a question, but it's a comment that, one of the instructions that we have in our application is that that applicants should have something that shows that they've notified their neighborhood organization that they're applying for CPA money. And you don't have that in your application. And so it would be good that you get us something by May 21st that shows that you've notified the East Forest Park Civic Association that you're doing this. I mean, it's great if they can give us a letter of support, because some of these presentations that have come to us before or actually have a support letter. We don't require a support letter, but we at least require that you show us that you've notified your neighborhood group. So if you could get us that by May 21st, that would be helpful. So now I'll see Ralph Slate has a question.
Thank you.
Yes, I understand, certainly the benefit of the shelter and its purpose. And so along those lines, is this park or is this playground open to members of the public like the neighborhood?
No, sir. Unfortunately, due to the safety of our families, it's a very secure playground. It would be a very secure playground space for them.
So the shelter.
Yeah, I understand that. I think that you know, while this may be a worthwhile project, well, I won't go into it, but CPA money is supposed to be used for the members of the public, not for private organizations.
So I think I want to share that the shelter in general is open to anybody, and most of our clients, most of our residents are from the city of Springfield. About 90% of our clients are from Springfield. So we are helping members of the public that are on shelter that are in unsafe, imminent danger.
No, I do understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, Willie, I see your hand up. Is that a question?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't have questions. I never took my hand
All
down,
right.
I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And any other questions from the committee? Gloria has a question.
Just to follow up with what Ralph was saying, Bob, I tried to check this out this afternoon about, do women's shelters qualify for open space? Or, I mean, for recreational?
Well, it's an area that this is the first time we've had that come up in terms of a proposal. So I will be contacting Stuart at the coalition.
Okay. All right. Because I tried several ways to check on the coalition site and to see if it would qualify under recreational, but I couldn't find anything. There was a lawsuit, but it was 77 pages, and unfortunately, I don't speak legalese. So anyway.
Okay.
So, okay, yeah, thanks.
David has a.
I was just gonna say, ladies, it has nothing to do with your proposal, other than we need to check what we can and cannot do under CPA.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yep. David, you had a question?
I do, Bob. Thank you. So assuming that this is in fact eligible, I'm looking at, I'm not sure what page number, but the budget proposal, items number 2 and 3, there's a section for a 5 to 12 year structure and a 2 to 5 year structure. Can someone elaborate on that?
Yes. Hold on, I'm just going there. So the actual proposal has drawings of what the different structures include. And then on page, or in the proposal, there's a description of the different in concept 1 and concept 2. So we'd be going with concept 1. And so, so they provide accessible elements that provide a good balance of activity, including the mini city community helpers, which is a 2 to 5 age year structure that provides fun for younger children, as well as main level accessible features for more options designed for inclusive discovery.
So is the 5 to 12 year and the 2 to 5, is that sort of the service life of the structure itself?
Meaning how long they're going to last?
Yes.
No, I think that has to do with the age groups that will be served.
Understood.
So the play structure is meant for a 2 to 5 year old and then 5 to 12 year old. And there's like all different activities included in each structure.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And any other questions from committee members? I see no hands up. So thank you very much for, Gloria has her hand up. Sorry.
Sorry, folks. I'm looking at the option 1.
Mm-hmm.
Mini city community helpers. That's a place, obviously it's a play structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it look like a grocery store, or what does it do?
I guess I can't exactly answer that.
Okay, then
there are pictures of it. I think when you look at the option 1 concept, I believe it's referring to the little structure that looks like a rocket ship. And it looks like it has different functions and features on it. There's like a dial
Okay.
pad that the kids can play with, and it's like.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last.
Sure, it's just saying it looks like a rocket ship when you look at the drawing, and it has different structures on it, including it looks like a dial pad. It has a little window. I think it's designed to look like a rocket ship.
Okay.
And if you're interested to see more, we could always reach out to the engineer and get more specific drawings and also submit that by May 21st.
Yeah, I would like to just see. I'm not asking for the world. I just want to understand it a little better.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the benefit is that we already have drawings by an engineer and who's already come and give us a quote, which is wonderful.
Okay, great. Looks like a nice playground though.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? So seeing no other hands up, I thank you very much. And we'll move on to the next presentation, which is the drama studio. So Steve Hayes, I believe, is here. So Steve, unmute yourself and take it away. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Bob. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. This project is a request to help us to bring the building up to code, to make it restore the building to its original state and to make it accessible. Most of our work is with Springfield students, and we need to make the building accessible in many different ways with ramps and staircases. This project addresses that. Also, the condition of the building, which needs to be addressed. It really hasn't been, since we purchased it, from my experience, it has not been, the exterior hasn't been addressed in about 50 years. So we're doing a lot of work to try to improve that. Staircases are crumbling. The ramp is not up to code, and we need to prepare the building for sprinkling, and there's a lot of stucco repair. So that's the kind of the essence of this building. By the way, we are moving towards a single building historic district. I think the next step is for the city council to approve it, but we've gotten approval from all the other sources. So it looks like we will be a single building historic district soon.
Okay, well, thank you, Steve. So are there any questions from the committee? I'm not seeing anyone other than Willie. You have your hand up still, so I always want to make sure that it's just that you haven't figured out how to take it down yet.
No, I haven't.
Okay. All right. Well, good. This is a question for Karen. Karen, my recollection is City Council's already approved the single building historic district. Is that correct?
It went through the first phase.
Did it go through City Council? Did City Council approve it?
Yes, for the first. Doesn't it have two? It has to be brought up twice.
Well, actually, all ordinances have to be brought up 3 times, and usually they bring up the first vote once, and then it comes back, and they take the second 2 votes on the same night.
Okay,
so maybe if you could check with Alan in the planning department as to whether the second vote has been taken.
I will do that.
Okay. Yeah.
I would like to point out, just for anybody, the cupola repair, which is a minor item, but I think it was a vestige of the congregation's interest in creating a tower that would be part of the entire church complex to reflect William Pynchon's church in England. So we'd like to make sure that that gets fixed and is up to date.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Juanita has a question.
Yeah, so I see is interior work and exterior work. We're just talking here, the 175,000 exterior, is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
That and included in that 175 is the new water line, correct?
Yes.
So it's both exterior work to the building as well as bringing in a new water line so the fire suppression system will work.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So unless there are other questions of the committee, thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you.
And you weren't here at the beginning of the meeting, so just to outline the timetable, we're meeting with the last third of applicants in early May. We will start our deliberations in June. We hope to have our recommendations to City Council in September, and then it's up to them, but usually they take a month and a half, and then we have to draft contracts. So if you are recommended and if you are approved by the City Council, you won't see a contract until the end of the year. But that's the timetable that we're on.
Well, that I kind of anticipated.
Yes, things move slowly.
Thank you, Bob.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much. So the next item on the presentation list is Kilroy House Exterior Restoration Phase 2. Kay, will you be presenting this, or will Steve?
I'm going to.
It's actually Steve.
Okay.
Well, I'd just like to say hello, and we prepared a good presentation for you, and we're hoping with the help of Karen Lee she's going to start. Karen, are we ready to share a screen? Because otherwise,
yes,
there's going to be a lot of dead air. So we actually are going to share our drawings with you. And okay. Well,
sorry about that. Thought I had it all set up. Try that again. Okay.
So I'm going to guide you through the next three presentations. The first is the Kilroy House, which is a continuation of an ongoing grant that you made in the previous year in the museums, and I thank you for that. So unfortunately, we have to wait for the loading. Okay. And then the second presentation will be D'Amour Museum of Fine Arts. And the third is the Springfield Science Museum. And I don't know if you look for a discount, we'll be glad to get it in 13 minutes instead of 15. I'm just joking, but seriously, could we go on to the Kilroy House, please?
So, yeah, so let me just make it clear. What I want to do is talk about Kilroy House, and then we'll have questions. And then we'll talk about D'Amour, and we'll have questions, and then we'll talk about science, and we'll have questions.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Basically, the main thing with this Kilroy House, which you see some of the ongoing work that your grant has already allowed the museums to fund, is the picture on the left. believe it or not, if you could zoom in, you'd see me and a museum employee operating the lift. We did some up close and personal analysis of the stucco, and the picture on the right is scaffolding from Mahan Slate that repaired the roof. It's a fairly straightforward renovation project, except for the fact that the stucco contains asbestos, which is got all these rules and regulations, et cetera, et cetera. So the complication is how to adequately repair the stucco and stay within the confines of a safely accomplished project. With that in mind, that was the reason why I encouraged the museums, and they did hire this lift, and we used it to basically try to determine the amount of stucco that's actually is ready to fall off or was in the process of delaminating from the brick exterior of the building. Also, I called in some acquaintances, colleagues of mine from Boston. They have a lot of experience, a nationwide firm that's done a lot of stucco, pardon me, projects around the country, and they recommended using these steel helical anchors, which we are going to proceed with. Another thing that we have accomplished so far is we've had the stucco analyzed by a lab, microscopic lab analysis. There's 3 layers of paint on the exterior. We got down to the original color of the stucco, which is a light yellow. And we have recommendations from this professional lab as to how to restore the stucco. Full disclosure, we don't have an exact price because we don't have the asbestos protocols completely figured out yet, to be honest with you. We're working on that. And so our intention is, you can see that the museums have already expended the majority of the first phase grant with the roof and this stucco analysis. To come is we're going to work with a stucco craftsman to install these helical anchors, because in essence, it's too expensive to remove all of the stucco because it's got asbestos in it. So we are looking for a way, and we believe we found it, to save the majority of the stucco and keep it in place with these helical anchors. And we're well on our way. In case anybody's interested, I describe it as a placeholder budget because of the difficulties of getting the bids without, you have to be in full compliance, as I've said. So
2 minutes.
It's our intention that we will be submitting an actual bid number for the CPA to vote on the funding prior to the award. And with that, I'd be glad to open it up to any questions.
Yeah, so I guess my first question to you, Steve, is when do you think you'll have us a firm price?
Well, nothing like putting someone on the spot publicly, but I can say that in all honesty, May 21st may not be complete. I don't want to, give you a fast answer. We have the ATC, they're the asbestos compliance group. We've started working with them. We've authorized their contract, and we have a stucco repair person in mind. I guess I would say, we will get you the information before you're going to vote on it, is the way I guess I would put it. And if it's May 21st, we will do that.
Well, no, we're certainly not. I mean, clearly what we're looking for is information by May 21st, so Karen can send it to everyone. So when we meet on June 1st, but we will not be voting on June 1st. We'll probably not be voting until July. But I guess my other question is, our policy is we don't give anyone any more than 250,000 in a funding cycle. And is there any chance that this project's coming in under 250,000?
I would, it's my goal. I understand, I've attended a lot of these meetings and I understand if you would say, the waters that we're swimming in. I cannot say that a fully compliant asbestos stucco repair will cost X, Y, or Z until I actually have a signed quote. But I would say from my background and knowledge, it's certainly reasonable to expect that it will be less than 250,000.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. All right. So, Karen, if you can take down the screen sharing right now so we can go back so I can see everyone at the same time. Thank you. So I'm looking to see if other committee members have questions. And so Ralph has a question.
Yes. So, hi, Steve. The question I have is, just to summarize the presentation, this request is generally for, the scope of the work is to repair the stucco. Is that the fair way to characterize it?
Yes, but I think I would say there's some nuances. So in order to repair the stucco, we had at first the analysis done by the lab in Cleveland. There's several layers of paint, there's asbestos, and there's several sections on the building that were literally, falling apart. And when we started the project,
Oh, I'm not trying to ask the question in a way to minimize it. I'm just trying to understand that, like, that's sort of like the box that we're in. Like, everything is centering on the stucco. There's no like chimney repair or anything like that. This is just
yes, that's correct. That's 100% correct.
Okay. Okay, and then the way to characterize the money request is just don't know yet, basically. I mean, you'll be able to come up with that in the next couple of months, is what it comes down to. Okay.
Yeah. So Gloria has a question.
Yeah, I'm looking at the budget and I'm confused, but that's not usually unusual for me. It says United Rental, lift rental, $987.40. Is that out of your current proposal?
Thank you, Gloria, for asking that, because to be honest with you, I didn't scrutinize the entire application, but it's my understanding, because I went up in that lift, that lift and the cost of the repair of the slate, which is completed, and the lift rental has been completed, is the phase 1 grant. So this is a 2-phase request from the museums to the CPA, and the first phase handled my contract to do the design and the recommendations for the technical repair. It handled the lift rental, and the majority of it was to repair the roof. And there's still a small amount left, believe it or not, and we're going to use that to hire a mason to do some sample patches.
That is correct. That's exactly how it is laid out in the budget, Steve.
Thank you, Kay.
All right.
So I have a question for, oh, sorry, Gloria.
No. I'm confused. So if the masonry stucco patch testing for 10,000 whatever is in phase 1, which was your last year's proposal, correct?
Right.
Was that in the proposal? I guess really what I'm asking is, you have leftover money and so you're using it for something potentially for this proposal?
Yes, exactly.
Isn't that right? Can we do that, Bob?
Well, I mean, they can do what's in their contract. So I guess we'd have to look at to say what's in the contract.
Okay.
Short of that, we would have to do a contract amendment to say, if indeed there's excess money left over from repairing the tile roof and for doing the stucco analysis, if there's money left over, it either comes back to the CPC, or we do an amendment that says, you know, you can do an extra XYZ with it.
Yeah, if I could just jump in, I mean, Kay can back me up, and we can submit an exact to the penny accounting, but approximately there's $5,000 left once you take out the asbestos remediation expertise, the Jack Mahan slate, which was, I can't remember exactly, I don't want to misquote in public, but basically there's 5,000 left in the phase one, including paying my contract for the analysis and the help with the technical specifications. And it's the museum's intentions with my recommendation to expend that entire $5,000 amount and possibly more, and that would come from the museum's own funds, to hire a mason to test some of these procedures, because it's so rare that in the United States that a stucco project has asbestos, that it's, you know, this is, there's a lot of research and development, I guess is one way to put it. But it's all, the money is being used wisely, and it's all for the intended purpose of repairing the stucco.
Yeah. So I guess even though, I guess my feeling would be is it comes within the purview, which was repair the roof and study how to best fix the stucco. That would be my guess. So I have a question for, I guess this is a question for Kay. Is this a two-phase project? It's not a three-phase project.
It's 2 phases.
Okay. So if we were to give you the full amount of your request, and then you're coming up with some of your own money, at the end of that, we have a fully fixed building with repaired stucco.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? I think Juanita has her hand up.
Yeah, so the interior is not, that wouldn't be coming back for a third phase, the interior of the building? Because there's a budget here for the interior of the building. On page, oh. I don't know where I saw it. There's the, it was the 100 and, oh. No. Can't find it here. No, never mind. I must have another project here. Never mind.
Okay.
Never mind.
All right. So, any other questions regarding the Kilroy House proposal? All right, then moving on, Steve, if you can give us the presentation on the Fine Arts Museum.
Thank you, Bob. So Karen's going to graciously support us. By the way, just as in passing, that's one drawing that we developed to show the exact amount of stucco to be repaired on the building. If we could go
Steve,
to the
if
next.
you want to just tell me to next slide,
Yeah.
because
Can you go to the next, Karen?
there we go. Okay.
Okay, so the D'Amour Fine Arts Museum is basically 3 components. The first is cleaning the limestone facade, you know, that's been exposed to atmospheric staining, et cetera, for 88 years. The second is an in-kind repair, which means using steel welded bars and plates to embellish and to make whole the Art Deco. It's a stepped frame doorway. I won't get into it too much, but basically if you can imagine that almost every door in the world has a flat top. Well, These doors, because they're Art Deco style, they step up, and you literally cannot purchase a door like that. So we're going to do an in-kind replacement, repair. And the third is an in-kind repair, which is another fancy way of saying we're going to repaint the steel sash windows, which are in dramatic need of repair. And in general, this will spruce up and tidy up the entire exterior facade of the D'Amour Art Museum. So could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you, Karen. So this shows the some of the pictures starting at the upper left. That's the magnificent Art Deco entry. And you can, if you look closely, you can see the stepped profile on the two entry doors. So that's all going to be preserved exactly as is. But right now, from personal experience, having used those doors, they start to stick. And you can imagine you got a museum that's protecting a Monet painting and you have a sticky door, you got a real problem on your hands. And I'm not saying that tongue in cheek, I mean that seriously. You can see going to the center and to the right and then down into the bottom, you see the facade pictures, particularly the bottom left is the view from Chestnut Street, which is really, facing out with the renewal of the Pynchon Park is nice because downtown Springfield is going to be united with the quadrangle. But this is the first view that people will see if they come up through Pynchon Park. So, excuse me, both the steel sash windows and the limestone masonry need repair. And then in the bottom right is a close-up of the door, and you can kind of see the rust on the very on bottom. And so we're going to basically take the doors apart. We're going to have a temporary housing so that on a rainy day or cold day, they'll be able to work on the doors and still have a secure entrance. And we're going to use bronze thresholds to replace the ones that have popped up because of frost. And we're going to weld in steel, basically Dutchman repairs, and then paint the doors again. And then the windows are going to be scraped, primed, and painted with new paint. And by the way, similar to the Kilroy House, one of the first things that the physical plant did was get a testing on the caulk and the paint on the steel sash windows. Good news, bad news. The very good news is that the caulk and the paint is lead only, not asbestos. There is asbestos in the caulk between the window and the limestone, but that does not need to be repaired in order to repair the windows.
Okay, so I guess, Steve, what is a Dutchman repair? What does that mean?
Okay, pardon me for slipping into the lingo for a minute. A Dutchman repair is like the Dutchmen, they were known for being very frugal and they would never throw anything away. And so whenever they repaired anything, if it was made out of wood, they cut out the rotten part of the wood and they put a new piece of wood in to match exactly. If it was made out of stone, etc., they did it. So the Dutchman repair is another way of saying that it's a in-kind replacement, which basically means we're going to keep the original materials and the original design will be maintained. But we are going to, because of necessity of rusted out sections of the steel door, we are going to be, cutting out pieces and welding in new pieces, but it's going to be new pieces of steel. And when it's done, you will be able to see the joint. That's also the essence of a Dutchman repair. You don't try to, cover it up and make it look like it was never there. It's clearly visible, but it's a sustainable approach. And it's classic historic preservation.
Okay, thank you. And any other questions from committee members? So I have a question for Kay. I'm assuming, Kay, that just as with the Science Museum and the Smith Museum, if we recommend this for funding, you will be petitioning the City Council to remove the exemption from the local historic district for the Art Museum.
That's right.
Correct? Yeah. And Karen, if you could, just as an aside, follow up with Alvin as to where the removal of the Smith exhibit, the Smith exemption is. You know, it's a matter of I think they had to ask the law department to draw up the ordinance revision, but I haven't heard anything on that for a couple months.
I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you. So, any other questions by committee members? I don't see any other questions. All right, so we'll move on to the last presentation, which is the Science Museum.
Okay, Karen, if you could bring back those slides, and thank you again for assisting. So if we could go to okay, this is the Science Museum, and that involves a patio renovation, including replacement of damaged slate surface with high quality durable pavers, the addition of a low sloping ramp, repair of masonry around the handrails to the museum exit, and the removal of a door that was installed in the early 2000s and to replace it with a new steel sash window. By the way, I should have said this at the start of all three projects, the Kilroy, the D'Amour Art Museum, and this project have been reviewed both by the Springfield and endorsed, it's my understanding, although I think it will state clearly in your packet. But I participated in the review with the Springfield Historical Commission and with the Preservation Trust. So Karen, could you go to the next slide? So this is some photographic documentation of the existing conditions. Starting in the upper left, you see the clearly deteriorated slate. I can't say for sure the building was, or this part of the Science Museum was added on in 1933. I don't know that that slate was there since 1933, but in general, it's tired and cracked, and it's, you know, you could do Dutchman repair there, but I feel it's better money, expenditure money to renew the entire plaza. And then on the upper right, that's a picture of the door that was put in when the current gift shop was being established in the early 2000s. And unfortunately, it didn't really, you know, because of the interior circulation of the gift shop, it never really, people weren't encouraged to go out there, and it was a security issue, et cetera. And so the stairs that actually led from the door have been removed. And so the proposal is to kind of admit defeat in terms of the installation of that door 15, 20 years ago, and to basically restore the facade. So that if you look on the bottom right, so if you compare the upper right with the bottom right, you'll see the upper right is the door that currently exists. And if we follow through with our proposal, both sides where the door is now will look like the window that's on the bottom right. And then the other two slides, pictures over to the left. If you look closely at the far left bottom, there's some spalling limestone that needs to be patched and repaired. And then the main center picture shows the granite stairs and the entrance to the science, well, the exit to the Science Museum. Could we have the next slide, please, Karen? So this is a drawing that the museum's hired us to develop a design for that was similar to, there was a good public acceptance of the plaza. It was very similar. It was a slate plaza in front of the what used to be called the Connecticut Valley Memorial Society or Association, and now it's the Dr. Seuss Wonderful World of Dr. Seuss. Extremely popular, as I'm pretty sure most of you know. And as part of that renovation, we took up the slate and put in a brick paver plaza. And because of the success with that and over the years, it's stood the test of time, that the museums decided that the Science Museum would benefit from a similar treatment. One of the first things we did was we had a meeting with Steve Desolé, the building commissioner of Springfield, to answer the question, if we provide handicap access to this plaza, which we are, on the bottom left of the drawing, there's a curved, low sloped walkway that will provide wheelchair access to the plaza. However, there's, as you saw in the picture and in this drawing, there's 6 to 8 steps. And then when you go in the door, there's 3 or 4 more steps. So this entrance is not going to be made accessible. The building commissioner is in agreement. It's clearly marked as an exit only. And the rationale to make the plaza accessible is that, as you know, you're shepherds of, public funds, and it's basically good practice and in conformance with the Americans with Disabilities Act to, when you expend public money and you renovate a space, that you make that space or portion of it accessible. So that's kind of the rationale. The new material for the both the surface of the ramp and the surface of the plaza are brick pavers, similar, almost the exact same manufacturer. They'd be different colors than the ones on the Wonderful World of Dr. Seuss. So pretty much that's it. There's going to be some railings on the ramp, and they will pretty much match the bronze handrails that are from 1933. So we'll basically kind of match old with new, if you will. So I'm opening up to questions.
Okay. So I guess, Karen, if you could put us back, thank you. So I guess let me start off with this, saying, I'm not an expert on the historic preservation part of it, but CPA money must conform to the Secretary of the Standards Interiors by the state law that governs us. And so I guess in my mind, knowing what the original material of that plaza is crucial, because if it's been flagstone ever since the 1930s building went up, I have a sneaking suspicion that the Secretary's standard would be is you do a Dutchman repair of the flagstone. And so I don't know whether there's any plans or photo documents that may be somewhere in the museum archives, because I think we would have to consult our historic preservation consultant as to whether that component of your request is even eligible based on what's the original material. I mean, if indeed it was brick pavers in the 1930s and only in the 1960s got swapped out for flagstones, that's one thing. But if it's been consistently flagstone since the 1930s, I think, frankly, you really need to be looking at repairing the original material and replacing in kind the original material. So, I don't know. You've got some research to do.
Yeah, we can. I have personally seen the original plans. I'm being honest and frank with you, I don't recall because I wasn't looking, at the plaza details when I was looking at I was working on the Welcome Center, but which faces out to the parking lot. But we can do that. We can research that, and we'll be in complete compliance with the Secretary's standards.
Okay, so once again, hopefully May 21st, if you can have that research and let us know, and if indeed you then are modifying your proposal based on what you find, let us know by May 21st. So any other questions from committee members? Ralph? Yes, Ralph?
Yes. So regarding the door that's going to be replaced with a window. Are you going to replicate that steel? Is it a steel type window on that other side, opposite the door?
That's correct, Ralph. It's a steel sash. Sometimes they're called factory sash, and they were popular with museums because they had very thin window frames and they let the maximum amount of light in. And there's a company, believe it or not, in Jamestown, New York, Hope Windows, that still makes steel windows like they did in the 1930s. Wow. And we're going to purchase a window from them that will be the exact, as close as we can get it, exact duplicate of the original window.
All right, it would actually be good if you can pass along that company to us, because I know that there's a city building that has similar windows that is in dire need of repair.
Will do.
Thanks.
Okay. Juanita has a question.
Yeah, the ramp, that goes up the stairs, not inside, but it does go all the way up the stairs, right? That ramp, because I saw in the drawing, it looked like stairs, and so.
Yeah, that's a good question, Juanita. The ramp goes, I think there's 3 steps. So there's approximately 21 inches of grade difference from the level of the granite sidewalk to the level of the proposed plaza. So that's what the ramp does, is very gradually, if you're in a wheelchair or if you're on some kind of walking assistance with a cane, etc., you will be able to use that to get, so to speak, from point A to point B. The majority of the stairs, thank you for questioning that and pointing it out, the majority of the granite stairs, which are original, are going to be preserved, including their railings, exactly as they were built in 1933.
So this is a question for Kay. What activities will you be holding on the plaza that sort of will be drawing people up there, and we therefore need to have accessibility?
That's a good question. And I'm really excited about this proposal. I think the plaza is underutilized. And as you know, Bob, we offer classes in our museum school that could take place out there. We have numerous activities that we present throughout the summer. These are drop-in activities that we have as part of our summer programs, our summer festival programs. And there could also be other informal talks and demonstrations that take place outside. And I think it will be well utilized. I think it will be something that really adds to the experience of visitors at the museums.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from committee members?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say that the 3 of these, I've really appreciated the history, and I've been, yeah. In fact, I've gone and researched even more some of the things because I was fascinated with the little bits of teas of history you put in there. Anyway, just a comment.
Okay.
Well, that's
all right.
Really thanks to Steve and his very extensive knowledge of historic architecture, and of course our wonderful grant writers here at the museums.
Well, as Steve, being a graduate emeritus of the Springfield Historical Commission, yes. All right. So, well, thank you very much. That will conclude our 9 presentations for tonight. We will have the remaining 10 next weekend. And now we will go on to the other items on the agenda. The next one, so you're welcome to stay with us, but you are also welcome to sign off. So just brief update from the subcommittee that's working on the historic plaques. Do we have any movement on that? So that's Ralph or David or Karen.
Okay. Whoops, sorry, wrong one. yes, we did have a discussion on this, and okay. So we had a discussion on the size of the type, whereas the font was too large on the first couple samples that you saw last month. So the two on the right are last month, the larger font. On the left, you can see that that it doesn't line up with the S, so it's a smaller font.
I guess, Karen, I'm only seeing the two things on the left. I can't see because people's pictures are there. Can I move the pictures? Twice. Oh yeah, I can. Okay, thank you. Once again, I'm the technically compromised person. Okay.
Okay, so you can see that there's definitely a difference in the overall look of the typeface and the smaller font.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one. That was one item there, and I don't know. Do you guys have anything else, David or Ralph, that you want to?
No, I prefer the smaller font, to be honest. I'm a little agnostic as to the color. I think I lean a little bit more towards the white, but I could live with the beige.
Well, once again, that kind of issue was left to the subcommittee. So if the subcommittee still hasn't decided what they want to do font-wise and color-wise, that's fine. We just need to be aware of the fact that the planning department has started to, make the awards. So at some point, because my feeling is, they're going to be paying these awards out in segments for each participant. So I'm assuming that when they go to inspect once they go under contract, they're going to tell Karen who's getting it, and we'll then know who the historic name on the sign is. We then need to order the sign and give it to the planning department, so when they go to make their first inspection, in order to authorize the first partial payment, they will give the homeowner the plaque to say, when we come back for the final inspection, this needs to be mounted on the house, because otherwise you ain't getting the final check. So all I'm saying is at some point we need, pardon?
I think David and I can probably just make the call right here. David, do you have any strong opinions?
Can we see them again?
Yeah, I will just say this. My comment to Karen earlier this week was, where will this be mounted and what do we expect people to be able to read and from what distance? The font size, so first of all, from a color perspective, I do, as well as Ralph, prefer the white as opposed to the beige. But, the question is, are we more concerned with the title? So in this case, the Smith House, or the descriptor? And I'm quite honestly ambivalent one way or the other, but if we're expected to have a description legible from a distance, I would prefer the larger font. If not, either is fine.
Well, what you have here, isn't it the same?
Now, the original one was a larger font that said, this was funded by the CPA.
Yeah.
So you can see it, Juanita. I'm sorry, it's a smaller picture, but you can see the difference in the way.
Yeah. No, it's just that the one I just had the other ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think our feeling was that homeowners would be more enthused about getting the plaque if it emphasized their house and its age, as opposed to the CPA verbiage. And I used to be stronger on this myself, but I've sort of come to the conclusion that people will very quickly figure out that these plaques go on houses that got CPA assistance.
Yeah.
And so the fact that all of our CPA verbiage may not be quite readable from the public sidewalk is less important than making sure that homeowners are happy that they have a plaque on their house that has the name of the house and in the year it was built. But that being said, I leave it to the subcommittee.
So what do you think,
When
David?
I'm looking at the four of these, my eye goes directly to the Joshua Cummings house.
On the bottom left?
Mm-hmm. And if I'm looking at the four of them, that's where my eye goes immediately. Is that bigger than the rest?
Well, it has a first and
2 lines.
Right, it has a first and last name. So I guess it depends what the house is called and how many letters are in that, which I don't know if we know that yet.
I would agree that the emphasis should be placed on the home, the name.
Yeah.
The descriptor. I might have thought differently a while back, but
no, I agree.
I think it's more in keeping with historical plaques on homes and other historical areas.
Yeah,
So
and I think, frankly, and the other issue is, we probably should go, unless it's someone, a specific person that's very important, with the last name of the house, because we don't know who was, besides Josiah Cummings, was there a Mrs. Cummings, so perhaps it's better known as the Cummings house as opposed to the Josiah, because maybe his wife Mary was equally as important at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But anyway, okay. Well, I'm glad to see that we're moving along. My only concern is we need to have a decision made by the subcommittee so that Karen can go through. Yep.
So David, I think we're all in agreement at the bottom.
Yeah, I would agree. The larger, the home title should be emphasized more so than the descriptor.
So white or the clay tan color.
White.
All right. So there it is.
Done.
So, and thank you. Thank the 3 of you for doing this.
All right.
So I guess the next step is, Karen, to confirm with planning how many awardees there are and what were the addresses so we can look up the house name on Macris, and then to talk to procurement to see what we have to do to order, 7 plaques or 9 plaques properly, and to get them ordered, preferably through Design Workshops, which has done all of this work for us.
Yes. So one of the last things, we do want to put screw holes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Because that's additional.
Yep.
And
I would assume 4 screw holes.
Yes. And so will we be delivering these signs, or do we work that out once?
Well, my feeling is they will all be delivered to planning, because planning, when they go to make the first partial payment, should be able to give them to the homeowners and say, when we come for the final inspection, before you get the final payment, you need to have this mounted on your house.
Okay.
And clearly there's the issue is, where's the standard mounting place? I leave that to the committee. Is it to the left of the door? Is it to the left corner of the house or the right corner of the house? I don't know.
I think it's going to depend on the house, to be honest.
Correct. Well, so I leave it to the committee to decide that. All I can say is this: do not leave it to planning, because they don't want to do this.
Right.
So
no, I have no problem. I have no problem giving a suggestion, but I think it's really a case-by-case basis per house, because every house has got a slightly different configuration.
And that's fine. Then I leave it. So then I leave it to the committee to look, when Karen gets the addresses for the house, to look at it and tell Karen where they will go. So when Karen delivers them to planning, she can tell them to tell the homeowner where they can go.
Okay.
Also, I'll probably put a note on the sign so they have it in writing as well.
Yep. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So the other thing that, and I emailed it, so hopefully everyone had it, is the draft budget. We don't have to take any action on it tonight. I had emailed the budget office to get their feeling as to what the anticipated revenue would be in CPA for the coming year, and haven't heard from them yet. So I've made my own estimates based on well, based on how we're doing this year. So when we got the comptroller gives us a monthly update, we had taken in $1.3 million at the end of March, which means that probably by the end of this year, we're going to be up to close to $1.6 million or $1.7 million when the fourth tax quarter all comes in. So I've based the proposed budget on this $1.673 million. The state has issued its distribution advisory that this year we're getting 32% of what we earned. So that's going to come up to almost $540,000. We do get interest on all of our accounts, so that totals $2,226,000. So, and then we, of course, put 10% for housing, 10% for historic, and 10% for open space recreation. We have a modest administrative budget, and that leaves us with an unallocated money of $1,498,000, et cetera, et cetera. So probably at the next meeting, we will take a vote because we then need to send the budget to the city council so they can approve it. But it's just something to mull over. Ralph, you have a question?
Yes. So it's my understanding that the administrative budget at the end of the fiscal year gets essentially just put back into the big pot, right?
Correct.
Like if there's money left over. So the question that I have sort of centers on whether or not, and we can talk about this more at the next meeting, but so I know that it is a permissible use of the administrative budget to do things like historic property surveys. So, you know, you have properties that they're suspected to be historic, but, you know, you want to basically do some research on them to find out, you know, more about them, that kind of a thing. And I know that you don't necessarily have the same desire as I do to have money like that spent from the CPA, but the truth of the matter is that nobody in the city is actually doing surveys of historic properties. So I'm wondering if it's worthwhile to put some money in the administrative budget to do a small number of these surveys so that we can, you know, if there are properties that we know that we think are historic, to get a little bit more research done on them so that they get onto the books, basically.
I thought I read that was not allowed, surveying.
To use
I believe it's allowed using the administrative funds.
Well, I guess this is where you and I disagree, Ralph. I think, you know, for example, we were prepared to hire a preservation consultant to survey Trinity House, the house on Bay Street that is within a National Register district that we were giving historic money to, but it had never been actually itself surveyed, and we couldn't do a local historic district because there was no survey form. So we indeed were willing to cough up the administrative money to pay to survey that property. So that I clearly agree with. But I just don't think that it's CPA appropriate to go out and just do a general survey of properties in the hopes that, well, maybe at some point someone might come to ask for assistance.
Well, I mean, you know, the reason I bring it up is because as I drive around the city, I see plenty of properties that I look at and I say, gosh, that to me looks like 1820s building, for example, that we don't know if it's an 1820s building because it's never been surveyed. Nobody's ever been sort of gone and done the research on the property. And, you know, those buildings tend to disappear and they're not always, you know, like completely bastardized either. So that's kind of, so there was one property that was on Allen Street, which I don't know how old the property was. I never did the research because it takes a lot of time to do that. But I think it was probably early 1800s. And I think that we're losing buildings like that because there's no organization in the city that is sort of doing that sort of research. And these are little scattered buildings that are mostly in sort of the rural parts of the city that have never really been done before. So I'm wondering if there's any opportunity for us as an organization to say, listen, we have some money, it doesn't, I mean, what does it cost? Like $100 a property or $200 a property to do, to hire a consultant to do that? It's not a ton of money. The city refuses to do it. Why don't we do it?
Well, I don't disagree that there's a need, Ralph, and it's a shame that this city doesn't complete doing historic survey work. But that being said, I'm being a more strict constructionist. I don't think it's something that CPA can be doing unless we are actually thinking of providing assistance to a specific building. Then I think we can do a specific survey.
Are you saying that just based on what you think the law is, or is that more of just a philosophical approach?
Well, first of all, it's when you look in the, the DOR allowable use chart, support does not relate to historic preservation. And to me, doing a survey does not preserve the building. It doesn't rehabilitate the building. It doesn't acquire the building. So in that sense, I don't think that just doing a survey by itself does anything. I think the survey, if it's part of giving money to rehabilitate the building, it's an ancillary expense.
I mean, I think that other communities use their administrative funds to do surveys. That's why I bring it up. But.
Yeah.
And that the last survey that we have in this city is what, 30 years old, 15, 20 years old? And it's not.
The last time the city did a very small survey because I think they were forced to do it as part of the memorandum of agreement with FEMA and Mass Historic, and they did a small survey of the Six Corners neighborhood. Very small survey. The last time the city did a significant survey was in 2001. So 20 years ago is the last time they did that. And I think it's pitiful that half of the city has never been surveyed. But that being said, I don't think it's CPA's function to fill that gap.
More like a preservation planning person in the planning department.
Well, even when, usually these large surveys are hired out. It's usually not done by someone in-house. I mean, the ones that have been done. So large parts of Forest Park have been surveyed, in large parts of Liberty Heights and the Bay neighborhood, Pine Point and Indian Orchard. They were always hired with outside consultants who sort of did it and then were done with it. And the city would apply to the Massachusetts Historical Commission that runs a program. So the Mass Historic would pay for part of the survey and the city would pay for the other part of the survey.
Well, hopefully we can try to get that done then this next round.
Bob, is it possible someone could put in a petition in the next round to survey?
So see, once again, Gloria, I don't think, when you look at the DOR allowable use charts, I don't think survey preserves or rehabilitates or acquires.
Okay.
And I guess,
and therefore, I don't
think
it's eligible.
It does. I think it's been used under administrative. I can talk to Stuart about this. When I emailed him it was about 2 years ago, and he said no. The under the historic category, it's not eligible, but there's a way you can do it. And then I've been reading that the administrative category allows you to do that. So, you know, I can do some more research on this, and, you know, we can talk about it at the next meeting.
Yeah. So Ralph, I would encourage you to look into whatever is the resource that you think you've seen that CPA under administration can do survey work. If that is indeed the case, then we've got, you know, under the proposed budget, we've got 14,000 of money that was in administration that we're just saying is, well, we'll need it for something.
Yeah.
So even if we don't have that information before us by the time we vote on a budget, there's still a modest amount that we can use. If I can be convinced that administrative money can be doing it, I think that there are a lot of communities that abuse their CPA money, and given that there is no state oversight, the only oversight is when there's the 10 taxpayer lawsuit. I think there are communities that use CPA for things that aren't quite kosher, but they get away with it. And I just don't want to do that here in Springfield.
I get that. Yeah. No, I would only suggest it if thinking that it's permissible, and, you know.
Yep. Well, I encourage you to, if you can find how under administrative it's permissible, then let's talk about it. Okay.
I can do that.
Very good. So we're running late, so I don't know. Karen, do you have anything major you need to update us on?
Well, I will make this mention.
So the Forest Park Trolley Pavilion project was reviewed by the preservation consultant, Shannon Walsh, and the local historic district paperwork to protect the property is in the process of discussion. So what I'm going to do is send you this information that I have here on her recommendations when you're reviewing the historic properties for recommendations to the city council. And Shannon has some specific things to try to head off some of the backstop that there wasn't enough information to begin with when she received these projects to review. So there was a lot of back and forth. So she has some recommendations on what we can do to kind of streamline that process. So I'll send you that. And as far as all of the other projects from last year, they've all been reviewed except for the George Walter Vincent Smith Museum, which we're in the process of either, having Shannon or someone else review that property. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And let me just give a little further explanation. You know, what the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission provides up to 15 hours of free local technical services to all of its member communities, to their various constituencies. So we, as the Community Preservation Committee, asked for this assistance from their preservation planner, because there's no one in city government who knows anything about historic preservation. We have used up those 15 hours. And so since we still have one more of the most recent year's proproperties that needs to be reviewed, probably at the next meeting or at the June meeting, we may be having to now hire either Shannon through the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission or another preservation consultant to look at the scope of services to make sure it's in compliance with the Secretary of the Interior standards. I mean, there's no one on this committee that has that expertise. Ralph knows a little bit, and I know a little bit, but we're not experts on it. And there's no one in the planning department, and there's no one on the historical commission. So, and that money will come out of this little pot that we have in our administrative account that's called unanticipated expenses. All right. So thank you very much, Gloria.
I'm sorry. I need something clarified for me from the proposals today. Can we pay for a concession stand?
Well, so when I spoke to Stuart, I said to him the proposals for bathrooms with a concession stand, and he said, in general, these are ancillary to a recreational use, and therefore you can, if you want to.
Okay.
So it's eligible. It will be a discussion for us when we get to deliberation whether we want to.
So Bob, just to clarify, I know that bathrooms are considered to be eligible. That's sort of the ruling on that. But did Stuart specifically speak to a concession stand?
Well, I mean, this is one building that the back half is bathrooms and the front half is concession, and he, he seemed to feel that it was something that it's still a modest structure. It's not like a stadium. It's not or a natorium. Right. It's not a big building. So he seemed to think that even, bathrooms are clearly eligible, and if it's a bathroom with a concession stand, yeah. But he once again said that's up for us to decide whether we want to recommend it. Juanita?
So it's bathroom, concession stand, and also there is where they, I don't even know what you call it in the sports thing, where they announce it, or what is it called? What did he call it?
Announcers window.
Announcers.
Well, there was the announcer's window, correct. But what Pat Sullivan said that space where the announcer's window was mostly the back room storage for the concession stand.
My guess is that it's true, but there'll be a big enough space for that, for the announcer.
Yeah. Well, once again,
that would be mine. So
if you
really,
did at Blunt Park, they have a similar setup at Blunt Park where you have the concessions and bathroom all in one complex at Blunt Park.
Yeah.
Lamar, do you know what's in that middle section? They did say they were reusing the design, right?
So yeah, so there's the bathrooms on one side, there's concession, and then there's like a empty space which is never used. I've never seen it used before, but there is additional space there that's never used.
All right. Let's not start deliberating on projects too soon. It's 8:36. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for everyone being.
No.
Pardon?
Oh, we didn't approve the minutes of the meeting.
Oh, the minutes. Okay. Thank you. So, if a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion.
Second. We'll go very quickly. Gloria.
Yes.
Juanita, you're muted.
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Lamar?
Yes.
Willie?
Yes.
And Bob is yes. All right. So now I guess a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So the meeting is next Tuesday, everyone. Just
correct.
Yeah, last week. Okay. Good night.
All righty.
Good
Thanks
night.
again.
Good night.
All right. And Karen, did you hear from people who need a paper want a paper copy for the habitat proposal?
Oh, right.
I want one. Who else
I would
wants
like one.
Okay.
So I could pick it up if that's convenient for you, if it's easier for you.
Well, if I'm going down and I'm dropping off Bob's, no, because I can just swing by your house.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Karen, are you able to email it, Karen? I can print it out myself.
You can go right on the City of Springfield website, and all of the applications are on that website.
Okay, perfect. I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm all set, Karen.
Okay.
Okay.
So just
and
the
one last
meeting is
thing.
next Tuesday, the 4th.
Correct.
Correct. Yes. And we have 10. We have the final 10 coming. And the other thing I would suggest is if folks have not seen the Chicopee Herald of the most recent one, April 22nd to April 28th. Well, it's actually called The Reminder, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a big article about the cleanup at Adams Playground, including a back and forth between Councilor Justin Hurst and the mayor. So you may want to read that just so you're aware of the controversy
Which
that
playground?
seems.
The Acorn?
Acorn.
Acorn, yeah.
Yes, Acorn.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good evening.
Good night.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.